The slap echoed louder than the music. Before she could stand, a stranger's hand was on her throat, and he wasn't letting go. Sarah Morgan didn't feel the sting right away. What she felt was the weight of the room collapsing inward, 300 pairs of eyes locked on her like she was some kind of spectacle. The VIP lounge at Eclipse kept pounding with bass-heavy music. Champagne kept flowing, but in that fractured moment, the air itself seemed to freeze. Her cheek burned, hot, immediate, the kind of pain that spreads like wildfire across your skin and settles deep in your bones. Martin stood over her, his face flushed red from bourbon and rage. His breath came in short, angry bursts. "You think you can embarrass me?" His voice cracked, loud enough for the nearest tables to hear. In front of these people, Sarah's champagne-colored dress, the one she'd saved 3 months to buy, was already ruined. Wine stains bled across the silk like dark bruises, dripping from her collarbone down to the floor. She tried to push herself up from the leather booth, but her legs wouldn't cooperate. Shock, maybe, or just the crushing weight of humiliation. That's when she felt it. A hand, firm, warm, wrapped around her throat. Not choking, not squeezing, just there, claiming the space between her pulse and her breath. Her eyes snapped up. The man standing over her wasn't Martin's. Korean. Early 30s. Black shirt rolled to his elbows, exposing forearms corded with muscle and faint scars she couldn't read in the dim light. His hair fell slightly into his eyes, dark, still damp, like he'd just come in from somewhere else. But it was his expression that stopped her cold. Calm, deadly calm. He wasn't looking at her. He was looking at Martin's. "Step back," the stranger said. His voice was quiet, but it cut through the noise like a blade through silk. No accent, no hesitation. Martin's blinked, confused. "Drunk." "Who the hell?" I said, "Step back. If you love dark romance that'll leave you breathless, hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because what happens next will change everything." The stranger's thumb pressed slightly against Sarah's pulse point. Not painful, just aware. Like he was counting her heartbeats. Martin stumbled backward, more from shock than obedience. "Do you know who I am? I'm a senior analyst at—" "I don't care." 3 words. Flat, final. The stranger's hand slid from Sarah's throat to her wrist, and in one smooth motion, he pulled her to her feet. Her knees buckled, but he didn't let her fall. His other arm came around her waist, steady, unyielding, like he'd done this 1,000 times before. "She's leaving," he said to no one in particular. Then he looked down at Sarah, and for the first time, she saw his eyes up close. Black, cold, unreadable. "Can you walk?" he asked. Sarah's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Her brain was screaming at her to run, to scream, to do something, but her body betrayed her. She nodded. "Good." He guided her toward the exit, his hand still locked around her wrist like a handcuff. The crowd parted. Security didn't move. Even the DJ seemed to lower the music. Like the entire club was holding its breath. Martins shouted something behind them. Threats, probably, or drunken promises of revenge, but the stranger didn't look back. Sarah did. Just once. Martins was on his knees, clutching his chest, his face pale and twisted. 2 men in black suits stood on either side of him now, hands folded, expressions blank. She didn't know who they were, but she knew they weren't there to help him. "Don't look back," the stranger said quietly. "It's already done." The night air hit her like a slap of its own, cold, sharp, sobering. A black car idled at the curb, engine purring. The stranger opened the back door and gestured for her to get in. Sarah hesitated. "You can get in," he said, his voice low and even. "Or you can go back inside and explain to your husband why 2 men just carried him out the side exit." Her breath caught. "What did you—" "I didn't do anything." He tilted his head slightly. Studying her like she was a puzzle he was deciding whether to solve. "But if you stay out here much longer, someone else will. And they won't be as polite as me." Sarah's hands were shaking. Her mind was racing. Every instinct told her to run. But when she looked back at the club entrance, she saw Martins being dragged into an alley by those 2 men in suits. She got in the car. The stranger slid in beside her, and the door closed with a heavy, final thunk. The locks engaged automatically. "Drive," he said to the front seat. The car pulled away from the curb, smooth and silent. Sarah pressed herself against the opposite door, her heart hammering so loud she was sure he could hear it. "Where are you taking me?" "Somewhere safe." "That's not an answer." It's the only one you're getting tonight. He leaned back against the seat, eyes fixed on the window, watching the city lights blur past. His hand rested on his knee, relaxed, unbothered, like he'd just picked up groceries. Not a woman. What's your name? Sarah whispered. He didn't look at her. Kang Dae-hyun, he said quietly. But you can call me Dae. Why did you… Because… He interrupted, finally turning to face her. Men like him don't stop, not unless someone makes them. His eyes locked onto hers, and for the first time since the slap, Sarah felt something other than fear. She felt seen. And you just decided to make him stop? She asked, her voice barely audible. Dae's lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. No, he said softly. I decided to keep you. Day 1, the warning, 3 weeks earlier. Sarah Morgan had learned to hide bruises the way other women learned to contour. Foundation first, the heavy kind, 2 shades lighter than her deep brown skin to counteract the purple undertones. Then concealer patted, never rubbed over the fingerprints on her upper arm. Setting powder to lock it in place, a silk scarf if the marks were too dark. Long sleeves even when the apartment felt like an oven. It was routine now, muscle memory. She stood in front of the bathroom mirror, dabbing cream over the fresh bruises from last night, and tried to remember what her life had been before this, before Martin's, before the careful choreography of surviving each day without triggering his temper. The apartment was silent, except for the hum of the refrigerator and Martin's heavy breathing from the bedroom. He was still asleep, or pretending to be. She'd learned to tell the difference by the rhythm of his breath. Slow and deep meant safe. Shallow and irregular meant he was listening, waiting for her to make a mistake. Today it was slow. She finished covering the bruises, washed her hands, and stared at her reflection. The woman looking back had tired eyes, and a smile she'd practiced so many times it almost looked convincing. She didn't recognize herself anymore. Her phone buzzed on the counter. A text from her mother. Dinner Sunday? Bring Martin's. I'm making your favorite. Sarah's throat tightened. She deleted the message without responding. The thought of sitting across from her mother, pretending everything was fine, pretending the man in her bed loved her instead of breaking her piece by piece. No, not today. She turned off the bathroom light and walked back into the bedroom. Martin's hadn't moved. She slipped under the covers, careful not to touch him, and stared at the ceiling. Sleep wouldn't come. It never did anymore. That's when she heard it. A sound outside the window. Faint. Metal scraping against glass. Sarah's entire body went rigid. The apartment was on the 4th floor. No fire escape, no balcony. Nothing but a straight drop to the street below. The sound came again, deliberate, purposeful. She sat up slowly, heart hammering, and looked at Martin's. He was still breathing deeply, undisturbed. Sarah got out of bed and moved toward the window, her bare feet silent on the hardwood. She pulled back the curtain just an inch, expecting to see nothing. A bird, maybe. A loose gutter. She was wrong. A man stood on the ledge outside her window. He was dressed in black from head to toe, his face partially hidden by the shadows, and a dark cap pulled low. But she could see his eyes, dark, focused, looking directly at her through the glass. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. She should scream, "Wake Martin's, call the police," but something stopped her. The man didn't look threatening, didn't try to open the window or motion for her to let him in. He just stood there, balanced on a ledge 4 stories above the ground, watching her with an intensity that made her skin prickle. Then he raised one finger to his lips, quiet. Sarah's hands trembled as she watched him reach into his jacket and pull out something small. He placed it carefully on the windowsill, then took one step back, and disappeared, just like that, gone into the darkness like he'd never been there at all. Sarah stood frozen, staring at the empty ledge, her mind trying to process what she'd just seen. Hallucination? Exhaustion? The stress finally breaking her? But the object on the windowsill was real. She unlocked the window as quietly as possible and pushed it open just enough to reach the small folded piece of paper sitting there. The night air was cold against her face. She grabbed the note, pulled it inside, and locked the window so hard the frame rattled. Behind her, Martin stirred but didn't wake. Sarah's hands shook as she unfolded the paper. The handwriting was sharp, precise, written in black ink. He's planning something. You have 21 days. No signature, no explanation. Just those 7 words and a date circled at the bottom 3 weeks from today. Sarah read it 3 times, her pulse racing. She should show this to someone, the police, her mother, anyone. Instead, She pulled out her phone and took a photograph of the note. Then she folded it back up and hid it in the bottom of her makeup bag, beneath the concealer she used to hide the evidence of her marriage. She climbed back into bed. But sleep was impossible now. 21 days until what? Day 8, the evidence. 1 week later, Sarah started noticing things. Small things. The kind of details you'd miss if you weren't looking. A black sedan parked across from her office building. Different spot each time, but always within view of the main entrance. She saw it Monday morning, Wednesday afternoon, Friday evening. A man in a gray jacket at the coffee shop near her apartment. He sat in the corner with a newspaper he never read, his eyes tracking her movements as she ordered her latte. 2 days later, she saw him again at the grocery store, standing in the produce section like he was deciding between apples. He wasn't deciding between apples, and then there were the emails. They started appearing in her spam folder at work. No subject line, no sender name, just a string of random numbers where the address should be. The first one was a photograph. Her and Martin's at a restaurant from 2 weeks ago. The angle suggested it had been taken from across the street, zoomed in through the window. Martin's was smiling at something on his phone. Sarah's hand was wrapped around a wine glass, knuckles white. She stared at the image for a full minute before deleting it. The second email came the next day. Another photo. Sarah leaving her office building. The timestamp showed it had been taken 15 minutes earlier. Someone was watching her, following her, documenting her life in real time. The third email wasn't a photo. It was a document. A scanned copy of a life insurance policy with her name printed at the top in bold letters. Insured, Sarah Morgan. Beneficiary, Martin's Morgan. Death benefit, $500,000. Sarah's stomach dropped. She hadn't signed this, didn't even know it existed. The policy was dated from 6 weeks ago, right around the time Martin's had started drinking more, right around the time the bruises had gotten worse, right around the time he'd started looking at her like she was already dead. Sarah printed the document with shaking hands, shoved it into her purse, and spent the rest of the workday pretending to function while her mind spiraled. 21 days. The note had said 21 days. 13 days left now. Day 13. That night, she waited until Martin's was asleep. Then she did something she'd never done before. She went through his laptop. His password was easy, their wedding anniversary. He'd never bothered to change it. She found the emails in a hidden folder labeled Insurance. Messages between Martin's and someone named Victor Reese. Discussions about managing the situation. References to making it look natural. A payment schedule. Wire transfer receipts. And one final email, dated from yesterday. Timeline moved up. Make it happen this week. We can't wait any longer. Sarah's hands went numb. She took photos of everything with her phone, the emails, the transfers, the policy. Then she closed the laptop exactly as she'd found it and went to the bathroom. She locked the door, sat on the floor, and finally let herself feel the terror she'd been holding back. Martin's wasn't just abusing her. He was planning to kill her. And whoever left that note on her window, whoever was taking those photos, sending those emails, they knew. The question was, were they trying to help her, or were they part of it? The next morning, Sarah sat in a law office that smelled like old books and desperation. The lawyer, a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and a wedding ring she kept twisting, looked over the printed emails and the life insurance policy spread across her desk. "This is serious," she said finally. "But it's not enough." Sarah's heart sank. "What do you mean it's not enough? He's planning to kill me." "I believe you." The lawyer leaned forward. "But these emails don't explicitly say what they're planning. Managing the situation could mean anything. A good defense attorney would tear this apart in court. What about the insurance policy?" "I never signed it. Did he forge your signature?" Sarah looked at the document again. The signature at the bottom looked exactly like hers. Looping S, careful curves. I don't know. Maybe, or maybe he had me sign something else and transferred it." The lawyer sighed. "Here's what I can do. I can file for a restraining order, but without documented police reports of abuse, photographic evidence of injuries, or explicit threats, a judge might not grant it. And even if they do, a piece of paper won't stop someone determined to hurt you. So what am I supposed to do? Wait until he actually tries to kill me? No." The lawyer's expression hardened. "You document everything. Every bruise, every threat, every suspicious interaction. You keep a journal. You tell people you trust what's happening. You build a case strong enough that when you leave, he can't touch you legally." Sarah wanted to scream. I don't have time for that, the email said this week. Then you need to disappear. The lawyer handed back the documents. Go somewhere he can't find you. File for divorce from a distance. Let the legal system catch up later. Sarah left the office feeling more alone than when she'd arrived. The system wouldn't save her. Not fast enough. She was on her own. That evening, Sarah stopped at a convenience store on her way home and bought a burner phone with cash. Cheap, disposable, untraceable. She activated it in the parking lot, then texted her real number from the burner so she'd have both saved. Her plan was simple. Keep using her regular phone for normal things so Martins wouldn't get suspicious. Use the burner for anything she needed to hide. She was learning to think like someone who needed to survive. When she got home, Martins was waiting. He sat in the living room with a glass of bourbon, his laptop open on the coffee table. The screen showed their bank account. Where were you? He asked without looking up. Grocery shopping. Sarah held up the bag she'd grabbed as cover. We were out of coffee. For 2 hours? Her pulse spiked. There was traffic, and I stopped to get gas. Martins finally looked at her. His eyes were bloodshot, his jaw tight. Your mother called my phone, said you haven't been returning her messages. I've been busy. Too busy for your own mother? He took a slow sip of bourbon. She's worried about you, says you don't sound like yourself lately. Sarah set the grocery bag on the counter, keeping her movements calm and measured. I'll call her tomorrow. You'll call her now. It wasn't a suggestion. Sarah pulled out her regular phone and dialed. Her mother answered on the second ring. Sarah! Finally. I've been trying to reach you for days. I know, Mom. I'm sorry. Work's been crazy. Are you okay? You sound tired. I'm fine. Just busy. Martins was watching her, listening to every word. Well, I wanted to remind you about Sunday dinner, her mother continued. You and Martins are still coming, right? Sarah looked at her husband, at the glass in his hand, at the cold calculation in his eyes. Of course, she heard herself say. We'll be there. She hung up. Martins stood, walked over to her, and kissed her forehead. Good girl. The words made her skin crawl. He went to bed without another word. Sarah stayed in the kitchen, staring at the burner phone hidden in her purse, and counted down the days. 8 left. Day 14. Sarah was walking to her car after work when a man stepped out from between 2 parked vehicles. Gray jacket. The same one from the coffee shop. She froze, her hand diving into her purse for her phone. Don't scream, he said quietly. His accent was American, his voice calm. I'm not here to hurt you. Then what do you want? He held up his hands, showing they were empty. To give you this. He pulled a phone from his pocket, not his own. Something else, and held it out to her. Sarah didn't take it. What is that? Insurance. He set it on the hood of her car when she didn't move. It's clean, encrypted, untraceable. There's one number programmed in. If you're ever in danger, real, immediate danger, you press the red button and help comes. What kind of help? The kind that doesn't ask questions first. Sarah stared at the phone. Who are you? Someone who knows what your husband is planning. Someone who wants to stop it. He started backing away. You have 7 days left, Sarah. Use them wisely. He disappeared into the parking garage before she could respond. Sarah stood there for a full minute, staring at the phone on her car hood. Then, she picked it up. There was only one app installed. No contacts, no messages, just a single red button in the center of the screen with 2 words beneath it. Emergency only. She put the phone in her purse next to the burner. Now she had 3 phones. One for Martins to track, one for her to hide, one for... whatever this was. Day 15, Saturday morning. The email came at 11 a.m. Sarah was in bed, pretending to sleep while Martins snored beside her. Her burner phone buzzed silently under her pillow. It was from the same unknown sender as before. But this time, instead of a photo, it was a message. Eclipse. Tonight. 9 p.m. Booth 14. Come alone or don't come at all. Sarah's heart hammered. Eclipse was a high-end nightclub downtown. The kind of place Martins went for client meetings. The kind of place someone could disappear. She should delete it. Ignore it. Stay as far away as possible. Instead, she typed back. Who is this? The response came immediately. Someone who can prove what he's planning. Someone who can help you survive. But you need to trust me. Why should I? Because in 6 days, you'll be dead. And I'm the only one who can stop it. Sarah stared at the screen, her hands shaking. She had a choice. Ignore the message and hope she was wrong about Martins. Hope the lawyer was right and she could build a case in time, or walk into what could be a trap and find out if this mysterious stranger was trying to save her or finish what Martin started. She typed one word, "Fine." Then she deleted the entire conversation and hid the phone. Saturday, booth 14, 9 p.m., 6 days left. She was running out of time to be careful. Day 15. By the time Sarah walked into Eclipse that night, she'd already made her choice. She'd spent a week gathering evidence, a week living in fear, a week watching Martins drink himself into oblivion while planning her murder. The email had said booth 14, "Come alone." She went. What she found was a man who'd been watching her for weeks. A man who knew everything, the insurance policy, the brake line plan, Victor Reese, the timeline. A man who offered her something she hadn't had in 2 years. A way out. His name was Kang Dae-hyun. And when Martins showed up drunk and violent, when he lunged at her in front of a crowded club, Dae didn't hesitate. He intervened. He protected her. And he gave her a choice. Go home to the man who wanted her dead, or leave with a stranger who'd been planning to save her. Sarah chose survival. By the time the sun rose the next morning, she was in Dae's penthouse, and Martins was calling her phone with threats that would never reach her again. She'd left her old life behind in that VIP booth, and there was no going back. Day 16, the safe house. Sarah woke in a room she didn't recognize. For a moment, panic seized her. Unfamiliar ceiling, unfamiliar sheets, the sound of a city 40 stories below, instead of the street noise from her 4th-floor apartment. Then she remembered. Eclipse, Martins, Dae's hand in hers, the decision to leave. She sat up slowly. The bedroom was minimalist gray walls, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. A single chair in the corner. No personal items, nothing that suggested anyone actually lived here. It felt more like a safe house than a home, because that's exactly what it was. Sarah found a robe hanging on the bathroom door and wrapped herself in it. Her champagne-colored dress from last night was folded neatly on the chair. Someone had cleaned the wine stains. She didn't remember taking it off. She walked out into the main living area and found Dae standing by the windows, fully dressed despite the hour, a cup of coffee in his hand. "You're awake," he said without turning around. "Did you sleep at all?" "I don't sleep much." He gestured to the kitchen. "Coffee's fresh. Help yourself." Sarah poured a cup and joined him at the window. The city sprawled below them, lights twinkling like stars scattered across the darkness. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now we wait. For what?" "For your husband to make his next move." Dae pulled out his phone and showed her a series of text messages. They were from Martin's number, sent to her regular phone between midnight and 2 a.m. "Where are you? Sarah, answer me. If you don't come home right now, you're going to regret this. I know you're with him. I know what you're doing. You're dead. Both of you." Sarah's hands started shaking. She set down her coffee before she could spill it. "He knows I left," she whispered. "He knows you didn't come home. He doesn't know where you are." Dae locked his phone. "This building has security most governments would envy. He can't get to you here." "What about my things? My clothes? My documents? I'll have someone retrieve them." Discreetly. Dae finally looked at her, and his expression was softer than she'd seen before. "I know this is terrifying. I know you want to go back and pretend last night didn't happen. But that's not an option anymore. Because he'll kill me. Because he already tried." Sarah's blood went cold. "What?" Dae walked to a laptop on the kitchen counter and turned it to face her. The screen showed security footage from her apartment building's parking garage, time-stamped 1:14 a.m. A man, not Martins. Someone else was crouched beside her car with a toolbox. Sarah watched as he crawled underneath the vehicle, worked for several minutes, then emerged and walked away. "Brake line," Dae said quietly. He cut it halfway through. "It would have failed the first time you drove more than 20 miles. Probably on the highway, going 60-70 miles per hour. Sarah felt sick, but I wasn't there. I was here. Which is why you're alive." Dae closed the laptop. "Victor Reese doesn't wait for schedules. Your husband called him last night, probably right after we left Eclipse. Told him the timeline moved up. Reese tried to finish the job. How do you know this?" "Because I have people watching your building. Watching Reese. Watching everyone connected to this operation." Dae's jaw tightened. "The moment your husband made that call, I knew. That's why I insisted you come here instead of a hotel." Sarah sank into a chair, her legs giving out. He really was going to kill me. All this time I thought maybe I was paranoid. Maybe the emails were fake. Maybe they weren't. And he is. Day sat across from her. But now he has a problem. You're not where you're supposed to be. He can't finish what he started, and that makes him dangerous in a different way. What do you mean? Desperate men make mistakes, and mistakes leave evidence. Day pulled up another file on his phone. This is everyone connected to your husband's plan. Victor Reese, the fixer, the notary who forged your signature, the insurance adjuster who approved the policy without proper verification. He paused. And the person who's been running this operation for 15 years. You said you didn't know who that was. I didn't. Until last night. Day turned the phone toward her. The image showed a woman. 50s, elegant, perfectly styled gray hair. She was sitting in what looked like a private office, talking to Martins across a desk. Sarah's stomach dropped. That's Victoria Morgan, she whispered. Martin's mother. Yes. Day's expression was grim. She's been building this network since her husband died and left her a failing investment firm. She needed capital. Insurance fraud was her solution. Find vulnerable women, pair them with wealthy men, usually her own clients' sons. Engineer the relationships, then engineer the deaths. And Martins is part of it. Martins is her biggest failure. Day swiped to another image, Martins and Victoria, in what looked like a heated argument. She wanted him married to someone she could control. Someone without family connections or resources. Someone who wouldn't be missed. Sarah's throat closed. Someone like me. Exactly like you. Orphaned as a child. No siblings. Working a dead-end job with no real career prospects. Day's voice was gentle but honest. On paper, you were perfect. But Martins developed feelings. Day pulled up text messages between Martins and his mother. 6 months ago, he told Victoria he wanted out. Said he couldn't go through with it. Victoria threatened to destroy him financially if he didn't comply. Sarah read the messages, her hands trembling. Martins, I can't do this anymore. I'm divorcing her. Victoria, you'll do no such thing. We've invested too much. Martins, I don't care about the money. I just want out. Victoria, then you'll have nothing. No job, no inheritance, no future. Is that what you want? Martins, I want to stop hurting her. Victoria, then stop being weak and finish what we started. Sarah looked up at Day, tears burning her eyes. He didn't want to kill me, not at first, but Victoria broke him down, convinced him it was the only way to save himself. Day's expression darkened. Doesn't make what he did forgivable, just makes it more tragic. What happens now? Sarah whispered. Now we use what we know. We build a case against Victoria. We expose the entire operation, and we make sure. Day's phone buzzed. He looked at the screen and his entire body went rigid. What? Sarah asked. Get away from the windows. Now. Why? Now, Sarah. The urgency in his voice made her move without thinking. She ducked behind the kitchen island just as Day killed all the lights in the apartment. What's happening? Sarah whispered. Day crouched beside her, his phone screen casting shadows across his face. Victoria's men. 4 of them. 12th floor and climbing the emergency stairs. How do you know? Cameras in every stairwell. He pulled a gun from a drawer she hadn't known was there. Stay here. Don't make a sound. You can't fight 4 armed men by yourself. I'm not planning to fight them. Day moved toward the door with practiced silence. I'm planning to stop them before they reach this floor. He slipped out into the hallway, and Sarah was alone in the darkness. Her heart hammered against her ribs. She could hear the elevator chiming somewhere in the distance. Footsteps in the hall, then gunfire. 3 shots. Sharp and deafening even through the walls. Sarah pressed her hands over her mouth to keep from screaming. Silence. Footsteps coming closer. The door opened. Sarah grabbed the nearest object, a heavy bookend, and raised it like a weapon. It's me. Day's voice came from the darkness. Sarah nearly collapsed with relief. Are they gone? For now. Day turned the lights back on. His shirt was torn, and there was blood on his knuckles, but he didn't look injured. But they'll send more. Victoria knows you're here. How? Martins must have told her about Eclipse. About me intervening. She connected the dots. Day walked to a panel on the wall and pressed his palm against it. A hidden compartment opened, revealing more weapons than Sarah had ever seen outside a movie. We can't stay here. Then where do we go? Day pulled out a second gun and checked the magazine. Somewhere Victoria won't expect. Somewhere public enough that she can't make you disappear quietly. Where's that? We need time to plan. Day's expression was calculating. And we need to understand exactly what we're up against. Sarah's phone, the emergency one, buzzed in the robe pocket. She pulled it out. A message from an unknown number. You have 5 days. Use them wisely. She showed it to Day. His jaw tightened. 5 days until Sunday. Until the original plan was supposed to happen. So we have 5 days to stop her. No. Day's eyes met hers. We have 5 days to survive her. There's a difference. Day 19, the plan. Sarah had spent 3 days learning to survive. 3 days of Day showing her surveillance footage, teaching her how to spot tails, explaining Victoria's network. 3 days of physical training, not just shooting, but hand-to-hand combat, how to fall without breaking bones, how to escape zip ties. 3 days of becoming someone new. Now, on the 4th morning in Day's penthouse, she stood holding a gun that no longer felt foreign in her hands. Breathe, Day said from behind her. Squeeze, don't pull. She squeezed the trigger. The recoil shocked through her arms. The bullet hit the paper target taped to the far wall, 3 inches left of center. Better, Day said. Again. They'd been at this for an hour. Her hands ached. Her ears rang despite the suppressors Day had attached. But she was getting better. She fired again. This time the bullet hit closer to the mark. Good. Day stepped beside her. But you won't be shooting targets. If you have to use this, it'll be because someone's trying to kill you, and you'll have maybe 2 seconds to decide. Sarah lowered the gun. I don't know if I can shoot another person. You won't know until you have to. Day took the weapon from her hands and set it on the table. But the goal is to never get to that point. We go in smart. We get what we need. We get out before anyone knows we were there. You make it sound simple. It's not. Day pulled up a blueprint on his laptop. Victoria's estate has 23 security cameras, 12 armed guards on rotation, and a panic room that could survive a nuclear strike. Getting in is easy. Getting out alive is the problem. Sarah studied the blueprint. The estate was massive: main house, guest house, security building, and gardens spread across 8 acres. Where's her office? Sarah asked. Day zoomed in on the 2nd floor of the main house. Here, northeast corner. That's where she keeps the records. Client files, insurance policies, evidence of every woman she's killed. How do you know that? Because I've been planning this for 3 years. Day pulled up surveillance photos, interior shots of Victoria's office taken from different angles. I've had people inside her operation. Cleaning staff, caterers, maintenance workers. They've been mapping the estate piece by piece. Sarah's stomach twisted. If you've had people inside, why haven't you already? Because Victoria's smart. She keeps the most damaging evidence in a safe only she can access. Biometric lock, retinal scanner. Even if I got someone into her office, they couldn't open it. Day looked at Sarah. But you can. Me? How? Because Victoria wants you. Day pulled up the threatening texts Martins had sent. She knows you're alive. She knows you're with me. And she knows that as long as you exist, you're evidence of her operation failing. So you want to use me as bait. I want to give her what she wants. Day's expression was grim. You. In exchange for immunity for Martins. Sarah's blood ran cold. You want me to walk into her estate and surrender? I want you to walk in wearing this. Day pulled a small device from a drawer. It looked like a button, the kind you'd find on a coat. Camera, microphone, transmitter, everything she says, everything in that room I'll have on record. And if she kills me before you get what you need, she won't. Day pulled up another file. Victoria doesn't kill people herself. She delegates, which means she'll keep you alive long enough to gloat, to explain how clever she is, how many women she's destroyed. You're betting my life on her ego. I'm betting your life on 3 years of studying how she operates. Day met her eyes. She won't kill you immediately, but she will try to break you, make you understand that you were never anything more than a transaction. Sarah thought about the life insurance policy, the forged signature, the systematic way Victoria had chosen her. When? She asked. Tomorrow night. She's hosting a charity gala. Security will be focused on the guests, not the perimeter. We slip you in through the service entrance. You go to her office. You trigger the meeting. And you? I'll be close, monitoring everything. The moment you have what we need or the moment things go wrong, I extract you. How? Day's smile was sharp. You'll see. Later that afternoon, Sarah stood in front of a mirror, staring at herself in a dress she'd never have chosen. Black, elegant, expensive. The kind of thing you wore to funerals or galas. Victoria's World. Day had purchased it that morning, along with shoes, jewelry, everything she'd need to blend in. He'd thought of every detail. "You look like you belong there," he said from the doorway. "I feel like I'm wearing a costume." "Good. That's exactly what it is." Day held out the button camera. "This goes here." He attached it to the dress's collar. "And this." He handed her a small earpiece. "Lets me hear everything you hear. I'll guide you if things go wrong." Sarah put in the earpiece. "And if you can't reach me, then you use this." Day handed her a small bracelet. "It looks like jewelry, but if you twist the clasp 3 times, it sends a distress signal and releases a tracking beacon. I'll find you." Sarah put on the bracelet. Her hands were shaking. Day noticed. He took her hands in his, steadying them. "You don't have to do this," he said quietly. "We can find another way." "There is no other way." Sarah looked up at him. "She won't stop. Even if we run, even if we hide, she'll keep hunting us. The only way out is through." Day's expression softened. "My sister said something similar. The day before she died." Sarah's throat tightened. "I'm sorry." "Don't be sorry. Just survive." Day released her hands. "Try to rest. Tomorrow is going to be the longest day of your life." But rest was impossible. Sarah spent the rest of the day rehearsing what she'd say, how she'd act, trying to prepare for a confrontation with a woman who'd built a career on destroying people like her. 2 days until Sunday. 2 days until she was supposed to die. Instead, she was walking into the monster's lair. Day 2, Night. The trap. Tomorrow was supposed to be Sunday dinner with her mother. Tomorrow was supposed to be her last day alive. Instead, Sarah was breaking into Victoria Morgan's estate. The estate was even more impressive on the inside. Sarah moved through the service corridors, following the route Day had mapped out for her. White walls, polished floors, the distant sound of classical music and champagne glasses clinking from the main ballroom where the gala was in full swing. "You're doing great." Day's voice came through the earpiece, steady and calm. "Second floor, east stairwell, 30 feet ahead on your right." Sarah found the stairs and climbed. Her heels clicked against the marble, too loud in the empty corridor. She slipped them off and carried them. "Office is the 3rd door on your left," Day continued. 2 guards usually patrol that floor, but they're both downstairs managing the gala. You have a clean path." Sarah reached the office door. Locked. "There's a keycard reader," she whispered. "I know." "Swipe the card in your clutch." Inside pocket, Sarah found a blank white card that Day must have slipped in while she wasn't looking. She swiped it. The lock clicked green. Too easy. She thought again, but she opened the door anyway. Victoria's office was exactly what Sarah expected. Expensive, elegant, intimidating. Floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, a desk that probably cost more than Sarah's car. And behind the desk, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the estate gardens lit up for the gala. "I'm in," Sarah whispered. "Good. Now find the safe. Should be behind the painting to the left of the desk." Sarah crossed to the painting, some European landscape worth more than she'd make in a lifetime. She lifted it off the wall. Behind it was a safe. Biometric scanner, retinal reader, just like Day had said. "I can't open this," Sarah said. "You don't have to. Just get Victoria in that room. Get her talking. The camera will do the rest." Sarah turned back toward the door and froze. Victoria stood in the doorway. She wore a midnight blue gown that probably cost $10,000. Her hair was perfect. Her expression was calm, like she'd been expecting this. "Hello, Sarah," Victoria said pleasantly. "Right on time." Sarah's heart stopped. She reached for the earpiece, but Victoria smiled. "Oh, I know about the wire, and the camera, and your friend listening in his car." Victoria stepped into the office and closed the door behind her. "Did you really think I wouldn't notice someone hacking my security system? Installing a backdoor in my cameras? I've been watching you watch me for weeks." In Sarah's ear, Day's voice was sharp. "Sarah, get out. Now." But Victoria's hand was already on the door handle, and when Sarah heard the lock engage, she knew running wasn't an option. "Sit," Victoria said, gesturing to a chair across from her desk. Sarah didn't move. "Sit, or my men will make you sit." Victoria's smile never wavered. Sarah sat, Victoria walked to her desk and poured 2 glasses of wine. She slid one across to Sarah. "I'm not drinking that," Sarah said. "Suit yourself." Victoria took a sip of her own. "I have to say, I'm impressed. Most of the women in your position just run. They hide. They hope. But you came to me. That takes courage. Or stupidity. Perhaps both." Victoria leaned back in her chair. "Let me guess. You're here to expose me. Get me on record admitting to my crimes. Send the recording to the police, and live happily ever after." Sarah said nothing. "The problem with that plan," Victoria continued, "is that I own the police, the judges, the prosecutors. Even if you had a recording of me confessing to murder, which you won't, it would disappear before it ever saw a courtroom. Then why are you telling me this?" "Because I want you to understand." Victoria's expression hardened. "You were never special, Sarah. You were a transaction, a business opportunity. Martins needed money. You needed love. I provided both and profited from it. That's all you ever were." In Sarah's ear, Day's voice was urgent. "Keep her talking. I'm coming to get you." "How many?" Sarah asked, her voice steadier than she felt. "How many women like me?" 43 confirmed. Victoria said it like she was discussing stock prices. "Though some were more profitable than others. You would have been number 44. 500,000. Very respectable. Would have been. Well, you're not dead yet," Victoria smiled. "Which presents a problem. Martins failed. Victor Reese failed. Even my own security failed." She stood and walked to the window. "But I don't leave loose ends." Sarah's hand moved slowly toward the bracelet, the tracking device. "I wouldn't," Victoria said, without turning around. "The moment you activate that signal, my men will know exactly where you are. And Mr. Kang's rescue attempt will end very badly for both of you." Sarah's hand froze. Victoria turned back to face her. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to call off your friend. Tell him you're fine. Tell him you're coming out peacefully. Then you're going to come downstairs with me, smile for the cameras at my gala, and have a very unfortunate accident on your way home tonight. And if I refuse, then I kill him instead." Victoria pulled out her phone and turned it toward Sarah. The screen showed live security footage. Day's car. Surrounded by 6 armed men, Sarah's blood turned to ice. "He's been sitting there for 4 minutes," Victoria said. "Waiting for you. Listening to every word we've said. My men have orders to wait for my signal. If I give it, they execute him. If you cooperate, they let him drive away." Sarah's mind raced. Day had said he'd extract her if things went wrong, but he couldn't extract her if he was dead. "Why are you doing this?" Sarah whispered. "Is the money really worth destroying so many lives?" "Money?" Victoria laughed. "You think this is about money? Sarah, I'm worth $300 million. I don't need insurance payouts." She sat back down, her expression cold. "This is about power, about proving that women like you, women who think they deserve love, security, happiness, are nothing more than commodities. I built an empire showing the world that you can be bought and sold and erased without anyone caring." Sarah felt sick. "You're insane." "I'm realistic." Victoria's smile was razor sharp. "Your friend in the car? He thinks he's a hero. Thinks he's saving innocent women from evil men. But he's just as deluded as you are. The system isn't broken. It's working exactly as designed. Women like you exist to serve men like my clients. And when you stop being useful, you disappear." In Sarah's ear, Day's voice was barely a whisper. "Sarah, listen to me very carefully. In 30 seconds, kill the lights in that office." Sarah's heart hammered. "How?" The switch was by the door. Victoria was between her and... "Wait." The lamp on Victoria's desk. "Now," Victoria said, standing up. "Make the call. Tell your friend to leave. Or watch him die." Sarah stood slowly, her hand reaching toward the desk. "I need my phone," she said. "It's in my..." She grabbed the lamp and swung it at the window. The glass exploded outward in a shower of shards. Victoria screamed. The office plunged into chaos, alarms shrieking, red emergency lights flashing, and through the broken window, Sarah heard the most beautiful sound in the world. Gunfire. Day's extraction team had arrived. "Jump!" Day's voice shouted through the earpiece. Sarah looked at the shattered window. The 40-foot drop to the gardens below. She looked at Victoria, already reaching for the panic button on her desk. Sarah ran and jumped. Day 2 Zaranite. The extraction. Falling felt like flying. for exactly 2 seconds. Then Sarah hit something, not the ground, but a massive inflatable cushion that hadn't been there 30 seconds ago. The impact knocked the air from her lungs. She bounced once, twice, and rolled off onto the grass. Above her, Victoria's silhouette appeared in the broken window, screaming orders. Move! Someone grabbed Sarah's arm and hauled her to her feet. It wasn't Day. It was a woman. Asian, late 20s, tactical gear, face she'd never seen before. Run! The woman shouted, dragging Sarah toward the tree line. Behind them, gunfire erupted. Victoria's guards were pouring out of the estate, weapons raised. The woman returned fire without breaking stride, her shots precise and controlled. 2 guards dropped. The others took cover. They reached the trees just as an explosion rocked the main gate, flashbangs, smoke grenades, the whole tactical playbook. Sarah couldn't see anything through the chaos. Where's Day? Sarah shouted. Getting the real prize, the woman said. She pulled out a phone and thrust it at Sarah. Here, talk to him. Sarah grabbed it. Day? You jumped out a window. His voice was tight with something between relief and fury. I said extract you. Not throw yourself off a building. You said jump. I meant wait for the cushion to deploy first. Despite everything, Sarah almost laughed. Where are you? Finishing what we started. In the background, she could hear more gunfire. Jin's getting you out. Trust her. Who's? The line went dead. Jin, the woman, was already moving deeper into the woods. Come on. Exville Point is half a mile north. Sarah ran. Behind them, the estate was pure chaos. Alarms, searchlights, shouting. But Jin moved through the darkness like she'd memorized every tree, every path. They reached a clearing where a black SUV idled, engine running. Get in, Jin ordered. Sarah climbed into the back seat. Jin took the wheel and they were moving before Sarah even closed the door. Who are you? Sarah gasped, still trying to catch her breath. Someone who's been waiting 3 years for tonight. Jin's eyes met hers in the rearview mirror. My name is Jinna Kang. Day is my brother. Sarah's blood froze. Your brother? But I thought that he only had one sister, Hana. Jin's expression darkened. He did. I'm her twin. The world tilted, but Hana died. Hana didn't die. Jin took a sharp turn, tires screaming. She disappeared, went underground, started hunting the people who destroyed her life, and she's been doing it for 3 years. Sarah's mind spun. Then why did Day tell me? Because he didn't know I was helping her until 6 months ago. Jin floored the accelerator. Hana faked her death to protect us, but she couldn't stay away. She's been feeding Day information through intermediaries, building the case against Victoria. Where is she now? Jin's smile was sharp. Right now? She's inside Victoria's estate, with Day, cracking that safe. Day moved through Victoria's office like a ghost. The safe was open. It had taken him 45 seconds to bypass the biometric lock using the override code his inside contact had provided. Inside were files, hundreds of them, insurance policies, photographs, names, dates, 43 women, 43 deaths, all meticulously documented. Day pulled out a portable scanner and started copying everything. 2 minutes, a voice said through his earpiece. Female, familiar. I need 3. You have 90 seconds. Victoria's en route to your position with 8 guards. Day scanned faster. 60 seconds. The scanner was only halfway through. Day, the voice sharpened. You need to go. Now. Almost done. You're going to get yourself killed. Then you'll have to save me. Again. Day grabbed the last file and scanned it. Done. He closed the safe, grabbed the hard drive, and moved toward the window Sarah had broken. Too late. The office door burst open. Victoria stood there, flanked by guards, a gun in her hand. Going somewhere, Mr. Kang? She asked. Day raised his hands, the hard drive still clutched in his left. Just leaving. Thanks for the hospitality. You're not leaving. Victoria's expression was ice. You've been a thorn in my side for 3 years, interfering with my business, turning my own employees against me. And now you've destroyed my estate and stolen from me. I prefer to think of it as evidence collection. It's theft, and you'll hang for it. Victoria gestured to her guards. Take him. The guards moved forward. That's when the second window exploded. A figure swung through on a rappelling line, firing before she even hit the ground. 2 guards dropped. The others scattered. The figure landed in a crouch, gun trained on Victoria. Day's breath caught. Hello, Mother. the woman said. Victoria went pale. That's impossible. The woman pulled off her tactical mask. She had Day's eyes, Day's cheekbones, but she was unmistakably female, unmistakably alive. Hana, Victoria whispered. Surprise. Hana stepped forward, gun never wavering. I'm not as dead as you thought. Victoria's hand trembled on her weapon. My son told me. Your son told you what I wanted him to believe. Hana's voice was cold. That I was gone, that the problem was solved, that he could move on and marry someone else and keep feeding you victims. He loved you. He tried to kill me. Hana's composure cracked. He pushed me down those stairs. He stood over me while I bled. And he called you to confirm the job was done. Victoria's expression shifted. Calculating. Then how? I survived, disappeared. And I've spent 3 years documenting every single death you've orchestrated. Hana gestured to Day. Thanks to my brother, we now have everything. The files, the names, the evidence. It's over, Victoria. Nothing is over. Victoria raised her gun, aiming at Hana. Not until you're actually dead this time. She pulled the trigger. Day moved without thinking. He lunged forward, slamming into Hana just as the gun fired. The bullet hit him instead. High shoulder. Not fatal, but the impact spun him around and he crashed to the floor. Hana screamed. Victoria aimed again, and Jin burst through the door behind her, gun raised. Don't, Jin said quietly. Victoria froze, caught between 2 armed women who looked exactly alike. Twins, Victoria breathed. Hana had a twin. Had. Jin's finger tightened on the trigger. Now she has a partner. Sirens wailed in the distance. Real police. Not Victoria's corrupted department, but federal agents Day had contacted before the operation. Victoria's empire was crumbling around her. She looked at Day, bleeding on the floor. At Hana, standing over him. At Jin, blocking her escape. You think you've won, Victoria said. But you haven't. This operation is bigger than me. It's bigger than all of us. You've taken down 1 network. There are 20 more. Then we'll take down those too, Hana said. Victoria smiled, cold, final, and turned the gun on herself. Day 21, the truth. Sunday, the day of reckoning. Hana moved faster than Victoria could pull the trigger. She knocked the gun from Victoria's hand, sending it skittering across the floor. Victoria stumbled backward, crashing into her desk. No, Hana said coldly. You don't get the easy way out. Jin kept her weapon trained on Victoria, while Hana dropped to her knees beside Day. How bad? She asked, her hands already applying pressure to the wound. Day gritted his teeth. Through and through. Missed anything vital. You're bleeding everywhere. I've had worse. He tried to sit up and immediately regretted it. The drive. Did it survive? Hana pulled the hard drive from his jacket pocket. Got it. Then it was worth it. You're an idiot. Runs in the family, despite everything. Hana almost smiled. The sirens were getting louder. 30 seconds out. Maybe less. Victoria pushed herself upright. Her perfect composure finally shattered. Blood ran from a cut on her forehead where she'd hit the desk. Her dress was torn. Her carefully constructed world was burning down around her. You can't prove anything, she said, but her voice wavered. Those files are privileged. Attorney-client communication. They'll never see a courtroom. We don't need a courtroom, Jin said. We need public opinion. She pulled out her phone and pressed a button. Somewhere in the house, on every screen Victoria owned, a video began playing. Victoria's own words. From tonight's conversation with Sarah, 43 confirmed, though some were more profitable than others. This is about power. About proving that women like you women who think they deserve love, security, happiness, are nothing more than commodities. Her confession. Recorded. Broadcasting to every device in the estate, and beyond. Live stream, Jin explained. To every news outlet in the country. Your own words, your own voice. Even if we can't prosecute you, the world knows what you are. Victoria's face went white. The doors burst open. Federal agents poured in, weapons drawn, vests marked with bold letters, FBI. Victoria Morgan, the lead agent said. You're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, insurance fraud, and racketeering. They pulled her hands behind her back. Read her rights. Let her out while she screamed about lawyers and immunity and connections. But no one was listening anymore. Sarah sat in the emergency room waiting area, still wearing the black dress from the gala, still shaking. Jin sat beside her, silent but steady. Is he going to be okay? Sarah asked for the third time. He's Day, Jin said. He survived worse than a shoulder wound. That's what he said. Because it's true. Jin looked at her. He once took a knife to the ribs, protecting a woman from her ex-husband. Refused medical treatment until she was safe. This is nothing. Sarah's hands trembled in her lap. I don't understand any of this. Victoria said Hana died. Day said Hana died. But she's alive. And you're her twin. And it's complicated. That's an understatement. Jin sighed. Hana and I were born 11 minutes apart. Hana was wild, impulsive. I was careful, controlled. When she got pregnant at 17, your father was black. Our parents disowned her for that and the pregnancy. She gave up. The baby gave up you. Then married the first man who showed her kindness. Sarah's throat tightened. He wasn't kind. No, he wasn't. Jin's expression darkened. For 2 years, he broke her, piece by piece. Day saw it. I saw it. But she wouldn't leave. Said she deserved it. Said it was punishment for abandoning her child. That's not... I know. But trauma doesn't follow logic. Jin paused. 3 years ago, her husband pushed her down the stairs. Day found her in the hospital. The police ruled it domestic violence. But before Day could get her into witness protection, Victoria's people got to her. Victoria knew. Victoria orchestrated it. Hana's husband was one of her client's sons. The insurance payout was $800,000. She couldn't let Hana testify and ruin the operation. Sarah felt sick, so she tried to kill her. She tried, but Hana survived. Barely. Jin's voice was tight. She faked her death with my help, let everyone think she was gone, and spent 3 years hunting Victoria's network. Where is she now? Dealing with the police, giving her statement. Jin looked toward the emergency room doors. She wanted to be here, but there's still work to do. A doctor emerged, pulling off latex gloves. Family of Kang Dae-hyun, he called. Sarah and Jin both stood. He's stable, the doctor said. Bullet went clean through. No nerve damage. He'll need physical therapy, but he'll make a full recovery. Relief flooded through Sarah like a drug. Can we see him? He's asking for someone named Sarah. Jin gestured. That's you. Go. Sarah walked through the doors, down a sterile hallway, to a room where Day sat propped up in bed, his shoulder bandaged, his arm in a sling. He looked exhausted, but alive. Hey, he said when he saw her. Hey. Sarah sat in the chair beside his bed. You got shot. I noticed. Because of me. Because of Victoria. Day's expression softened. This isn't your fault, Sarah. I broke the window. I jumped. You survived. Day reached out with his good hand and took hers. That's all that matters. Sarah looked at their joined hands. At this man who'd risked everything to save her. Jin told me about Hana, she said quietly. Told me she's my birth mother. Day's grip tightened slightly. I didn't know. Not until Victoria showed you that birth certificate. I swear, I believe you. Sarah met his eyes. But I need to know something. When you started watching me, following me, was it because of Hana? Because I was her daughter? Day was quiet for a long moment. At first, he admitted. 6 months ago, Hana contacted me. Told me she was alive. Told me about you. Asked me to keep you safe from Victoria's network. Sarah's chest tightened. So this whole time, at first, yes, I was protecting you because Hana asked me to. Day's eyes never left hers. But then I met you, saw your strength, your resilience, the way you refused to stay broken even when everything was breaking you. He paused, and I stopped doing this for Hana. I started doing it for you, Day. I'm not asking you to forgive me for lying, or for manipulating the situation, or for putting you in danger. His voice was rough. I'm just asking you to believe that somewhere along the way, keeping you alive stopped being a mission and became something I couldn't live without. Sarah couldn't breathe. Before she could respond, the door opened. A woman walked in. Korean. Early 40s. Beautiful despite the scars that marked her face and arms. She had Day's eyes, Jin's face, and when she looked at Sarah, her expression crumbled. My God, she whispered. You look just like I did at your age. Hana. Sarah stood slowly, her heart in her throat. Mother and daughter faced each other for the first time in 28 years. I don't expect forgiveness, Hana said, her voice breaking. I gave you away. I chose a man over my own child. You were 17, Sarah interrupted. You were scared. You did what you thought was right. It wasn't right. It was survival. Hana's eyes glistened. But I never stopped thinking about you. Never stopped wondering if you were happy. Safe. Loved. I was, Sarah said honestly. My adoptive parents loved me. Gave me everything. Then I'm glad. Hana took a shaky breath. I don't deserve to be part of your life. I know that. But I needed to see you, to tell you that giving you up was the hardest thing I ever did, and protecting you these last 3 years was the only thing that kept me alive. Sarah looked at this woman, her biological mother, a stranger, a warrior who'd survived hell and come out the other side. I don't know what this makes us, Sarah said quietly. I don't know if we can be mother and daughter after everything. We don't have to be. Hana's smile was sad. But maybe we could be something. Sarah thought about the past 3 weeks. The terror, the running, the way Day and Hana and Jin had risked everything to save her. Yeah, she said finally. Maybe we could. Hana exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for years. Then her phone buzzed. She looked at the screen and her expression hardened. What? Day asked. Victoria's lawyer just posted bail. The room went cold. That's impossible, Jin said from the doorway. Federal charges. Flight risk. She has connections. Hana's voice was ice. I told you. This network is bigger than her. They're protecting their investment. Then we go after them, Day said, trying to sit up. All of them. Every name in those files. You're not going anywhere, the doctor said, appearing behind Jin. You need at least 48 hours of rest before an explosion rocked the building. Not close, but close enough to shake the walls, to set off car alarms in the parking lot. Sarah ran to the window and looked out. 3 blocks away, a building was on fire. Victoria's law office. She's destroying evidence, Hana said, burning everything that could connect her to the network. Sarah's phone buzzed. Unknown number. She answered. Hello, Sarah. Victoria's voice was calm, collected, like nothing had happened. I hope you're enjoying your reunion with dear Hana. So touching. How did you? I told you. I own this city. The police, the judges, even some of the federal agents who arrested me tonight. Victoria's smile was audible. Did you really think a recording would stop me? That exposing one network would end this? What do you want? Simple. You, Hana, and every piece of evidence you stole from my safe. Victoria paused. Meet me in 1 hour, alone, or I start killing every woman in my current operation, all 12 of them. 1 every 10 minutes until you comply. The line went dead. Sarah looked at Hana. At Day, at Jin. She's bluffing, Jin said, but Sarah saw the truth in Hana's eyes. Victoria never bluffed. Day 21. The day Sarah Morgan was supposed to die in a carefully orchestrated car accident on her way to Sunday dinner with her mother. The day Martins would have collected $500,000 and moved on to his next victim. Instead, she stood in an empty warehouse holding the evidence that could burn Victoria's entire empire to the ground. The meeting point was an abandoned warehouse on the waterfront. Of course it was. Sarah stood in the center of the empty space, the hard drive in her hand, surrounded by darkness. Hana and Jin were positioned in the rafters above, invisible, armed, waiting. Day had insisted on coming despite his injury. He was somewhere in the shadows with a rifle and a death wish. She's late, Sarah whispered into her mic. Good. Hana's voice came through her earpiece. Means she's worried. But Victoria wasn't late. The lights snapped on blinding. Industrial floods that erased every shadow. Sarah's stomach dropped. Victoria stood 20 feet away, flanked by guards. But that wasn't what made Sarah's blood run cold. Martins was with her. Not as a prisoner, as a partner. Gun in hand, expression empty. Hello, darling, he said. Sarah's world tilted. You're working with her? I never stopped. Martin's voice was flat, rehearsed. Did you really think I wanted out? That I felt guilty? That was the performance, Sarah. To make you trust them. He gestured to the rafters where Hana and Jin were hidden. To lead them right to me. Victoria stepped forward. Everything you've experienced these past 3 weeks? Calculated. The surveillance. The evidence. Even Day finding you. She pulled out her phone. Who do you think sent him your name? In Sarah's ear, Hana's voice was sharp. That's not possible. I gave Day your name. You thought you did, Victoria interrupted, as if she could hear the conversation. But who gave you Sarah's information, Hana? Who sent you the adoption records? The address? Silence on the line. You played us all, Sarah said, her voice hollow. I orchestrated you all. Victoria's smile was victorious. You think you exposed me tonight? That live stream? That was me. Controlled demolition of a network that had become too visible. The FBI thinks they're investigating 43 deaths. They'll never find the other 200. Sarah felt sick. You wanted to be arrested. I wanted to be publicly arrested for a small crime to hide the massive one. Victoria gestured around the warehouse. This network spans 12 countries, 42 partners, billions in assets. The 43 deaths you found? That was one branch I needed pruned anyway. You're insane. I'm efficient. Victoria held out her hand. The hard drive. Now. Sarah looked at the drive in her hand. The evidence that was apparently worthless. And if I don't? Victoria pulled out a tablet and turned it toward her. 12 video feeds, 12 women, all bound, all terrified. 1 bullet every 10 minutes, Victoria said, starting now. On the screen, a guard raised a gun to the first woman's head. Wait, Sarah shouted. The guard paused. I'll give you the drive. Just let them go. Sarah, don't Day's voice in her ear. But Sarah was already walking toward Victoria. The hard drive extended. Victoria took it, smiled, and nodded to the guard on the screen. The gunshot was silent through the video feed, but the woman's body dropping was clear enough. Sarah screamed. You said. I said 1 every 10 minutes. I never said I'd stop if you complied. Victoria pocketed the drive. Kill the rest. Hana dropped from the rafters, gun raised. Jin appeared from the opposite side. Day emerged from the shadows, rifle aimed at Victoria's head. Let them go, Hana said. Or you die here. If I die, all 12 die. Victoria was utterly calm. My guards have orders. The moment my heartbeat stops, they execute. Then we kill the guards, Jin said. They're not here. They're at 12 different locations across the city. You could never reach them all in time. Stalemate. Then Martin spoke. There's another way, he said quietly. Victoria looked at him, confused. Martins raised his gun and shot his mother in the chest. Victoria staggered backward, blood spreading across her white blouse. The guards answer to me now, Martin said, his voice shaking. I had the override codes installed 3 months ago, when you threatened to cut me off. I couldn't let you destroy me. He pulled out his phone and made a call. Stand down. Release the hostages. It's over. Victoria collapsed to her knees, clutching her chest. Blood bubbled on her lips. You were supposed to be mine. I was never yours, Martin said. I was always just trying to survive you. She fell forward, dead before she hit the concrete. Sarah stared at Martins. At the man who'd terrorized her, controlled her, nearly killed her. The man who'd just saved 12 women. Why? Sarah whispered. Martins lowered his gun, his hands shaking violently. Because she was going to kill me next. The operation was too big. I knew too much. She told me last week after you were gone, I'd have an accident too. So this was self-preservation, Day said, rifle still trained on Martins. Does it matter? Martins looked at Sarah, and for the first time, she saw genuine emotion in his eyes. Fear, regret, exhaustion. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I know what I did. I know I don't deserve to live. He placed his gun on the ground. So shoot me if you want. But those 12 women are alive because I made a choice. Finally, Sarah looked at Hana, at Jin, at Day. The police are coming, Jin said. 2 minutes out, then we leave, Hana said. Now, what about him? Sarah gestured to Martins. What about him? Hana's expression was ice. Sarah looked at Martins broken, terrified. A monster who'd become a victim who'd become a killer. Let the police have him, Sarah said. Let him testify against the network. Let him spend the rest of his life making this right. Sarah, Day started. It's not mercy, Sarah interrupted. It's justice. Death is too easy for him. Let him live with what he's done. Martins nodded slowly, tears streaming down his face. Sirens wailed in the distance. Hana grabbed Sarah's arm. We need to go. They ran. 3 months later, Seoul, South Korea. Sarah sat in a cafe, watching the rain streak down the windows. The news played on a TV in the corner. Martin's testimony had brought down 17 members of Victoria's network. 12 countries were now investigating. 42 partners were facing charges. But Victoria had been right about one thing. The system protected power. Most would never see a courtroom. Most would pay fines and disappear into new lives with new names. The 12 women Martin saved that night were alive, safe, being given new identities. But the 200 others Victoria mentioned, they stayed ghosts. Sarah's phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Coffee shop. Seoul. Tomorrow, 3 p.m. No signature. But she knew the handwriting from the note on her window. Day. She hadn't seen him in 3 months. He'd disappeared after the warehouse to heal, to hunt the remaining network members, to finish what they started. Hana had stayed in touch. Weekly calls. Slow, careful rebuilding of something that might someday feel like family. Jin had gone back underground. Still work to do, she'd said before vanishing. And Sarah? Sarah had learned to breathe again. She looked at her reflection in the cafe window. No more bruises, no more fear, no more performing survival, just Sarah. Finding out who she was when she wasn't running. Tomorrow, she'd meet Day. They'd talk, maybe plan the next move against the network, maybe just exist in the same space without chaos. But today she was just a woman drinking coffee in a foreign city, watching the rain, and choosing for the first time in her life what came next. Freedom wasn't the absence of danger, it was the presence of choice, and Sarah Morgan had finally learned how to choose herself. Survival isn't about escaping your past. It's about deciding it doesn't get to write your future. If you felt every twist, every betrayal, every hard-won victory in this story, if Sarah's journey reminded you that broken doesn't mean defeated, then you're in the right place. Hit that subscribe button and turn notifications on, because this is where we tell stories about real strength, not the kind that never breaks, but the kind that breaks and keeps going anyway. Drop a comment. What was the twist that got you? Which moment made you hold your breath? Let's talk about it. See you in the next story.